The day Deathworlders ceased playing nice, a legend. Every species remembers. Captain Allison Carter stood at the viewport of the Earth vessel Resilience, watching as the massive conclave station grew larger against the backdrop of stars. Her reflection showed a woman with determined eyes and short brown hair, the blue uniform of Earth's defense fleet crisp against her skin. 5 minutes until docking, Captain, said Lieutenant Keith Johnson from his station. Allison nodded. Inform the diplomatic team. And Lieutenant, remember our orders. We observe, we learn, we smile, but we trust no one until we have reason to. Yes, Captain. This mission marked humanity's first official representation among the stars. 10 years had passed since aliens made contact with Earth, calling it a death world, a planet with such harsh conditions that its inhabitants evolved to be unusually hardy and adaptable. The term was meant to sound impressive, but Allison had learned enough about galactic politics to suspect it was not entirely a compliment. She moved through the ship to the diplomatic quarters where her team prepared. Dr. Eric Mason adjusted, his uniform collar, his dark skin contrasting with the white insignia of Science Division. Beside him, Cultural Liaison Maya Rodriguez reviewed alien greeting protocols on her tablet. Ready to make history? Allison asked. As ready as anyone can be, Eric replied with a small smile. Though I wish they'd stop referring to us as the Deathworlders in their communications. Makes us sound like monsters. Maya looked up. That's exactly what we need to change, Doctor. First impressions matter. The third member of the diplomatic team emerged from his quarters. Ambassador Peter Dalton was older than the others, with silver hair and the calm confidence of a man who had represented Earth in many difficult situations, though never with alien species before today. Captain, he greeted Allison. Your ship and crew have done an excellent job getting us here safely. Now it's our turn to do the hard work. The ship shuddered slightly as it connected with the docking mechanisms of Conclave Station. Allison's communicator buzzed. Docking complete, Captain, Lieutenant Johnson reported. Station atmosphere reads as compatible with human physiology as promised. Thank you, Lieutenant. Maintain standard protocols. She turned to her diplomatic team. Remember, we represent not just Earth, but all humanity. Let's make a good impression. 4 of them walked together to the airlock. As the door slid open, they saw their welcoming committee, a group of 5 aliens from different species. The apparent leader stood slightly ahead of the others, a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and large pupilless eyes. Welcome to Conclave Station, the alien said in perfect English. I am High Commissioner Zell Thorin of the Viridian Alliance. We are pleased to finally welcome Earth's representatives to the galactic community. Ambassador Dalton stepped forward with practiced ease. High Commissioner, we bring greetings from Earth. We are honored to join this gathering of species and look forward to establishing mutual beneficial relations. The formal introductions continued as they were led through the station. Captain Carter kept her expression neutral but observed everything. The station was enormous, housing representatives from what they were told was over 200 different species. Some looked almost human, while others defied easy description. Beings of crystalline structures, others that seemed to float rather than walk, and some that required special environmental suits. Their quarters were spacious and carefully designed to accommodate human needs. After settling in, they attended the formal introduction ceremony in the Grand Hall, where representatives from many worlds had gathered to witness Earth's official entry into galactic politics. Allison stood at attention as Ambassador Dalton gave his prepared speech about cooperation and mutual respect. The gathered aliens applauded politely, but she noticed several exchanging what she interpreted as skeptical glances. Later at the reception, Allison sipped a beverage that tasted almost like apple juice while watching her team interact with various aliens. Maya seemed to be doing well, quickly adapting to different communication styles. Eric was deep in conversation with a squid-like being, probably discussing biology. Ambassador Dalton appeared at her side, his diplomatic smile in place but his eyes serious. Captain, I need to speak with you privately, he said quietly. moved to a quiet corner of the reception hall. "What's wrong?" she asked. During the ceremony, my aide was given access to what was supposed to be the standard welcoming package of information. But there was a file misfiled, clearly not meant for us. His voice dropped even lower. "It contains plans for resource extraction from Earth territories scheduled to begin after what they call our containment period." Allison's face remained calm despite her shock. "Are you certain?" "I've reviewed it 3 times. They're discussing our planet like it's already theirs. There are similar plans for several other worlds. We need to inform Earth immediately." "Not through standard channels," Dalton cautioned. "According to this document, they monitor all our communications. We'll need to use the quantum entanglement system, and only when we're certain we're not being observed." Allison nodded. "We maintain appearances until then. If they see us react, we lose any advantage we might have." For the next 3 days, the Earth team participated in meetings and tours, all while gathering more information. During a cultural exchange event, Maya managed to speak with a representative from another species classified as coming from a death world. The Me, Kral were once mighty warriors. The furred, bear-like alien told her quietly when no others were near. "Now we mine resources for the Viridian Alliance and are told to be grateful for their protection." "Protection from what?" Maya asked. The Kral looked around nervously. "From ourselves, they say, but really from our potential. There were 4 Death World species who reached the stars independently. 3 are now client states. You are the 4th. That night, the team met in Ambassador Dalton's quarters, using specialized equipment to scan for surveillance devices. "They've been systematically exploiting developing species," Eric said, reviewing the information they'd gathered. "The Viridians themselves evolved on a low-gravity world with minimal environmental threats. They're physically fragile but technologically advanced. They use species like the Kral for physical labor, the Vexar for complex calculations, and the Draconids for work in extreme environments." "All Death World species," Allison noted. "All potentially stronger than the Viridians," Maya added. "All contained after reaching space." Ambassador Dalton looked grim. "We need to report this to Earth while maintaining our diplomatic facade. The Viridians clearly see us as a potential threat to be managed." Allison's jaw tightened. "Then we give them no reason to accelerate their plans. We play nice for now." "And if they don't?" Eric asked. "Then they'll learn why species from Death Worlds are treated with caution," Allison replied. "But for now, we smile, we cooperate, and we gather every bit of information we can." As they separated to return to their own quarters, none of them noticed the small maintenance drone that had hovered near the air vent during their meeting. Inside the drone, a recording device had captured every word. In his private chambers, High Commissioner Zell Thoran watched the replay of their conversation and smiled thinly. Humans were clever, certainly, but all Deathworlders were eventually brought to heel. It was simply a matter of time and proper management. What Zell Thoran didn't know was that Captain Carter had spotted the drone and deliberately fed it misinformation. The real meeting had taken place earlier, and Earth was already being warned. The game had begun. The day Deathworlders ceased playing nice. A legend. Every species remembers. 6 months had passed since the Earth delegation arrived at Conclave Station. Captain Allison Carter sat in her quarters aboard the Resilience, reviewing reports from Paig home. Earth's leaders had taken the delegation's warning seriously. Military production had quietly increased. New ships were being built in hidden facilities, all while maintaining the appearance of eager new members of the galactic community. Soft chime interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call." Lieutenant Keith Johnson's voice came through the speaker. "It's from the human colony on Proxima Centauri." Allison was on her feet immediately. "I'm on my way." On the bridge, the crew worked with focused efficiency. The main screen showed the distress signal details. "The colony reports they're under attack by pirates," said Lieutenant Johnson. "They're requesting immediate assistance." "How far are we from Proxima Centauri?" Allison asked. "At maximum speed, 8 hours," replied Navigator Lisa Kelly. "Set course immediately. Inform Ambassador Dalton where we're going." Lieutenant Nathan. "Right." The ship's tactical officer studied the incoming data with narrowed eyes. Captain, the attack pattern seems unusual for pirates. It's too organized. Noted, Lieutenant. We'll assess when we arrive. Allison turned to her communications specialist. Olivia, inform the Conclave authorities of our temporary departure. Cite emergency response protocols. Yes, Captain. As the Resilience broke away from Conclave Station, Ambassador Dalton entered the bridge. Pirates? He asked quietly, standing beside Allison. That's what the distress call says, she replied. But Lieutenant Wright has doubts. So do I, Dalton said. This timing is convenient. Just as we were making progress with potential allies among the smaller species, the journey to Proxima Centauri was tense. When they arrived, the Resilience dropped out of faster-than-light travel to find the colony under siege. 3 sleek ships were firing upon the settlement's defensive shields. Scan those vessels, Allison ordered. Lieutenant Wright worked quickly. Captain, those aren't pirate ships. Their design matches Viridian military formations, though they've removed all identification markers. As I suspected, Allison said grimly. This is a test. They want to see how we respond, what weapons we use, how we fight. What are your orders, Captain? Asked Lieutenant Johnson. Allison thought for a moment. Lieutenant Wright. Prepare defensive. Systems only. We show them just enough to win, nothing more. The Resilience moved into position, broadcasting warnings to the attacking ships. They responded by turning their weapons toward the Earth vessel. They're targeting our engines, reported Wright. Evasive maneuvers, Allison ordered. Now deploy countermeasures. The Resilience released what appeared to be simple defensive drones. The attacking vessels easily destroyed several of them, seeming unimpressed. But the destroyed drones released electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the enemy ship's targeting systems. Fire warning shots, Allison commanded. Conventional weapons only. The Resilience fired what looked like standard laser weapons. The blasts struck with surprising accuracy, disabling the weapon systems on 2 of the enemy ships. The 3rd ship is retreating, Wright reported. Disable its engines but leave life support intact, Allison said. A precisely aimed shot left the 3rd ship drifting in space. Hail the colony, Allison ordered. The colony's leader appeared on screen, relieved, but shaken. Captain Carter, thank you for your timely arrival. We've suffered damage, but no casualties. We'll send medical teams and assist with repairs, Allison assured him. Did the attackers make any demands? None. They simply appeared and began firing. It makes no sense. After helping the colonists and securing the disabled enemy ships, the Resilience prepared to return to Conclave Station. In her ready room, Allison met with her senior officers and the diplomatic team. This was no random attack, she said. Those were Viridian military vessels disguised as pirates. A test of our capabilities, agreed Nathan Wright. And they likely have recorded every aspect of our response. Dr. Eric Mason frowned. Did we give away too much? We showed them exactly what I wanted them to see, Allison replied. Decent defenses, but nothing spectacular. Standard weapons, nothing that would truly concern them. Meanwhile, they've shown us that they're willing to attack our colonies, Ambassador Dalton said grimly. This changes the diplomatic landscape. Maya. Rodriguez nodded. They'll have a cover story ready when we return. We should prepare our response carefully. Upon their return to Conclave Station 3 days later, they were immediately summoned to meet with High Commissioner Zell Thorin. The Viridian's large eyes showed no emotion as he greeted them. Captain Carter, we were most distressed to hear of the pirate attack on your colony, he said smoothly. Such lawless elements are unfortunately common in the outer systems. Fortunately, we were able to respond quickly, Allison replied, matching his tone. The colony suffered minimal damage. Most impressive, Zell Thorin said. Though concerning that a species so new to interstellar travel faces such dangers. Perhaps this demonstrates the need for Earth to accept our protection treaty. Ambassador. Dalton stepped forward. We appreciate your concern, High Commissioner. Our government will certainly take this incident into consideration when reviewing the proposed treaty. After the meeting, as they walked back to their quarters, Maya whispered. He didn't even try to hide his satisfaction. He believes he's won this round, Dalton replied quietly, by demonstrating our vulnerability. Later that evening, Dr. Mason worked late in his laboratory on the station, analyzing samples from the disabled ships. The lab was empty except for him, everyone else having returned to their quarters. He didn't notice the silent figure that entered until a shadow fell across his work. Mason looked up to see a Viridian he didn't recognize, holding what looked like a ceremonial blade. The Deathworlders must learn their place, the Viridian hissed, lunging forward. Mason barely managed to dodge, the blade slicing through his lab coat. He stumbled backward, looking for a weapon or an escape route. The door slid open and Olivia Grant appeared. Without hesitation, she threw a heavy data tablet that struck the Viridian's arm. The assassin dropped the blade, hissing in pain. Olivia quickly pressed the emergency alert on the wall. Security personnel arrived within moments, but the would-be assassin had already fled. "How did you know?" Mason asked Olivia, his hand shaking as he accepted a cup of water. "I noticed unusual patterns in the security rotations," she explained. "When I saw you were working alone, I came to check on you." In Captain Carter's quarters, the team gathered again, this time using advanced countermeasures to prevent any surveillance. "They're moving faster than we anticipated," Allison said. "First the attack on the colony, now an attempt on Dr. Mason's life." "They're trying to isolate us from potential allies," Dalton observed. "Every species we've made progress with suddenly became unavailable after we returned." "What's our next move?" asked Maya. Allison's expression was resolute. "We give them what they expect. Tomorrow we announce our return to Earth for consultations about the protection treaty. We'll appear dejected, intimidated." "And meanwhile?" Eric asked, still shaken from his near assassination. "Meanwhile, Earth continues preparing," Allison said firmly. "The Viridians believe Deathworlders can be contained through fear and manipulation. They're about to learn differently." Across the station, High Commissioner Zell Thorin received news of the failed assassination attempt with displeasure. "Unfortunate," he told his security chief. "But not critical. Our primary objective was accomplished. The humans will retreat to their world to consider our generous offer of protection." "And if they refuse?" asked the security chief. Zell Thorin's thin lips curved in what passed for a smile among his kind. "They won't. No Deathworld species ever does once we demonstrate the alternatives." What he didn't know was that Earth had alternatives of its own, and they were already in motion. The day Deathworlders ceased playing nice, a legend. Every species remembers, the Resilience departed from Conclave Station with what appeared to be a defeated air. Captain Allison Carter and her crew maintained somber expressions as they said their goodbyes to the various alien representatives. Ambassador Dalton spoke of serious considerations and careful review of treaty options in a voice that suggested Earth might be reconsidering its position in galactic politics. High Commissioner Zell Thorin watched their departure with satisfaction from his private observation deck. Beside him stood his chief strategist. "They break so easily, these humans," Zell Thorin remarked. "One small attack, one failed assassination, and they retreat to their world. Should we not be concerned they might be planning something?" The strategist asked. Zell Thorin waved a slender blue hand dismissively. "What could they plan? Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Their military capacity is limited. We've seen everything they have." Had he been able to see inside the Resilience as it moved away from the station, the High Commissioner might have been less confident. In the ship's secure conference room, the atmosphere was anything but defeated. "Navigation reports we've cleared their sensor range, Captain," Lieutenant Johnson announced. "Good," Allison replied. "Open secure channel to Earth Defense Command. Priority Alpha." The screen lit up to show Fleet Admiral Paul Hayes, a stern-faced man with gray at his temples. His expression was grave as he listened to Captain Carter's report. "So they've shown their hand earlier than expected," he said when she finished. "The attack on the colony changes things." "Yes, sir," Allison agreed. "They're testing us, but also sending a message. Accept protection or face consequences. Then we respond accordingly," Hayes said firmly. "Upon your return, we'll activate Protocol Thunderstorm." Ambassador Dalton leaned forward. Is Earth ready for this, Admiral? We're talking about potentially facing the dominant power in this sector of the galaxy. Earth has been preparing since first contact, Ambassador, Hayes replied. We hoped for peace but planned for all possibilities. The moment aliens called our world a death world, we understood our position. 2 weeks later, the Resilience arrived at Earth. From orbit, the planet appeared peaceful. Blue oceans, swirling white clouds, the lights of cities visible on the night side. But appearances could be deceiving. Admiral Hayes met them at the secure landing facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The base had been built in secret over the past decade, one of many such facilities unknown to the galactic community. Welcome, home, Hayes greeted them as they disembarked. We have much to discuss. In a large war room, they joined other military and political leaders from Earth's united government. Wall screens displayed information about Earth's defenses, production, capacity, and military readiness. Protocol Thunderstorm is now active, Hayes announced to the assembly. All hidden shipyards are at full production. Military units are mobilizing under cover of routine exercises. Our orbital defense grid is being strengthened while appearing unchanged to outside observers. A woman in a scientist's uniform stepped forward. The new shield technology has been successfully tested. It can withstand weapons 3 generations beyond what the Viridians demonstrated in their attack on the colony. What about our allies? Asked Maya Rodriguez. Hayes nodded to a corner of the room where a tall, bear-like figure stood silently. This is Grax, a representative of the Crowl. He arrived on Earth 6 months ago through covert channels. Grax stepped forward. His massive frame towered over the humans, thick fur covering his body, small eyes bright with intelligence. My people were the first Deathworlders to be contained by the Viridian Alliance, Grax rumbled. For 3 centuries we have mined their resources, built their stations, and waited for an opportunity. Are your people willing to fight? Allison asked. My people were born to fight, Grax replied simply. We need only the means. Hayes gestured to another screen showing 3 distinct alien species. We've established contact with all 3 subjugated Deathworld species, the Crowl, the Vexar, and the Draconids. Each has been oppressed by the Viridians for centuries, used for their natural abilities but prevented from exercising their full potential. How did you manage this without the Conclave knowing? Asked Eric Mason. Quantum entanglement communication, Hayes explained. Technology we developed but kept hidden. It's undetectable by current Conclave methods. So while we've been playing nice in public, Allison said slowly, you've been building a coalition in secret. Exactly, Hayes confirmed. The Deathworld Coalition now includes 4 species, with Earth as the newest member. We've been sharing technology, information, and plans. Commander Samantha Wells, a woman with short blonde hair and intense focus, stepped up to the main display. I've been leading the covert contact teams. Each Deathworld species has provided crucial intelligence about Viridian weaknesses. She highlighted points on a galactic map. The Crowl have identified vulnerable resource processing centers. The Vexar have mapped the communication network that keeps them isolated. The Draconids have detailed knowledge of the shipyards built on their homeworld. And what do we provide in return? Asked Dalton. Hope, said Grax simply. And weapons. Your species developed military technology rapidly due to your isolated position. The Viridians never allowed us such development. Over the next 2 months, Earth maintained diplomatic communications with the Conclave. Ambassador Dalton sent messages suggesting Earth was carefully considering the Protection Treaty, asking for minor clarifications, requesting more time for review, all while Earth's true preparations continued hidden from view. In underground factories, weapons were produced not just for humans but sized for Crowl hands, Vexar appendages, and Draconid claws. Ships were modified to accommodate different physiologies. Battle plans were created, utilizing each species' natural strengths. On a secure base on Mars, Captain Allison Carter oversaw the training of mixed species crews. The first few days had been awkward. the towering Crowl barely fitting through human-sized doorways, the insectoid Vexar requiring special atmospheric adjustments, the scaled draconids uncomfortable in Earth's normal temperatures. "We've been enemies for so long," a draconid officer named Zirak told Allison during a break in training. "Not by choice, but by Viridian design. They kept us separate, told each species the others were dangerous, untrustworthy. And now?" Allison asked. Zirak's reptilian features formed what might have been a smile. "Now we learn we are not so different after all. We all evolved on worlds that tried to kill us every day. We all value strength, courage, and loyalty." Near the end of the third month, Admiral Hayes called a meeting of the coalition leadership. Representatives from all 4 Deathworld species gathered in the war room. "The Viridians are growing impatient," he informed them. "They've sent a message demanding Earth's answer regarding the protection treaty within 1 standard week." "Then, it's time," said Grax. Hayes nodded. "Our forces are ready. The Earth fleet is at full strength, though only a small portion is visible to Conclave observation. Our weapons and shields are prepared. The supply ships have delivered equipment to your homeworlds through the hidden quantum tunnels." "What, will the Viridians see?" asked the Vexar representative, her mandibles clicking softly. "They will see a diplomatic delegation returning to the Conclave, led by me personally," Hayes replied. "They will believe we are coming to negotiate the final terms of surrender." Allison looked around the room at the gathering of species that had evolved on the harshest worlds in the galaxy. Species that had been underestimated, exploited, and contained for too long. "And what will they get instead?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Admiral Hayes's face was set with determination. The day Deathworlders ceased playing nice. The day Deathworlders ceased playing nice. A legend. Every species remembers the Earth diplomatic vessel approached Conclave Station with what appeared to be reluctant purpose. Unlike the sleek military lines of the Resilience, this ship was larger and designed to showcase human culture and diplomacy. Its name, Olive Branch, had been chosen for its symbolic meaning. On the bridge, Admiral Paul Hayes stood in his formal uniform, watching as the massive station grew larger on the view screen. Captain Allison Carter stood beside him, now serving as his second-in-command for this mission. "All systems report ready, Admiral," she said quietly. Hayes nodded. "And our friends?" "In position and awaiting the signal." The Olive Branch docked with the Conclave Station amid much fanfare. The Viridians had arranged a formal welcome ceremony, making sure representatives from many species were present to witness Earth's acceptance of protected status within the galactic community. High Commissioner Zelthorin greeted Hayes with a thin smile. "Admiral Hayes, we are honored by your presence. Your journey here signals Earth's wisdom in recognizing the benefits of our protection." "We appreciate the warm welcome, High Commissioner," Hayes replied neutrally. "Earth takes this matter very seriously." The delegation was escorted to guest quarters to rest before the formal assembly scheduled for the following day. Once alone, Hayes and his team activated countermeasures against surveillance and gathered in a secure room. "The Viridians have brought in additional security forces," reported Lieutenant Wright, who had been monitoring station activity. "They're not taking any chances after Dr. Mason's incident." "Good," Hayes said. "Let them think we're intimidated by the show of force." Ambassador Dalton reviewed their intelligence. "All 3 Deathworld representatives have confirmed their people are ready. The Krull mining crews are in position at the resource centers. The Vexar technicians have access to the communication hubs. The Draconids have their teams at the shipyards." "And our fleet?" Hayes asked. "Hidden but ready," Allison confirmed. "The new stealth technology is working perfectly. The Viridians have no idea we have ships positioned throughout their territory." The next morning, the Grand Assembly Hall of the Conclave was filled to capacity. Species from across the galaxy had gathered to witness Earth's formal integration into the Viridian protection system. Many had seen this ceremony before, as other independent worlds joined the mutual defense arrangement that eventually led to their resources being harvested and their people being controlled. High Commissioner. Zelthorin took the central podium, his slender blue form draped in ceremonial robes. Behind him stood a dozen Viridian officials and security personnel. The Earth delegation was seated in a place of honor near the front. Esteemed representatives of the galactic community, Zelthorin began, his voice amplified throughout the hall. Today we welcome another world into our protective embrace. Earth, a death world whose hardy people have proven their worth through perseverance, now wisely seeks the security and guidance of the Viridian Alliance. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some species looked sympathetic, others indifferent. A few, those who had suffered similar fates, watched with hidden bitterness. Admiral Hayes, as Earth's representative, will now formally request protection and acknowledge the terms of our agreement. Zelthorin continued, gesturing toward the human. Hayes stood and walked to the podium with measured steps. The room fell silent as he looked out over the assembled aliens. His face was grave, his posture straight and dignified. High Commissioner, representatives of the Conclave, he began, I come before you today on behalf of Earth and humanity. He paused, looking directly at Zelthorin, but not to request protection. A ripple of surprise moved through the hall. Zelthorin's large eyes blinked rapidly. Instead, Hayes continued, I am here to present evidence of the systematic exploitation practiced by the Viridian Alliance against developing worlds, particularly those classified as death worlds. He activated a control on his wrist, and the large screens around the hall came to life. They displayed documents, records, and images showing resource extraction operations, military actions against resistant populations, and plans for containing potentially troublesome species. These records, obtained from your own secure databases, show a pattern of manipulation, coercion, and exploitation spanning centuries, Hayes said, his voice firm. 3 Deathworld species before us were subjected to this treatment. The Crowl, the Vexar, and the Draconids were all approached as we were, offered protection, and then systematically stripped of their resources and freedom. Zelthorin's face had hardened. This is a misunderstanding, clearly. These documents are taken out of context. Admiral Hayes, your species is new to galactic politics and may misinterpret. There is no misinterpretation of plans to strip mine our colonies. After we've been properly contained, Hayes interrupted, displaying the document Ambassador Dalton had discovered months earlier. The High Commissioner's patience visibly ended. He made a subtle gesture to his security chief, who touched a communication device. This display is unnecessary and provocative. I had hoped Earth would join us willingly, but it seems you require a demonstration of the consequences of defiance. Zelthorin's voice took on a harder edge. At this moment, a Viridian fleet is moving into position around Earth. Accept our terms now, or your homeworld will face immediate military action. A tense silence fell over the hall. Hayes didn't appear concerned. He checked his watch calmly. I'm afraid your fleet will find that difficult, he said, as they've just discovered that their command ships have been disabled by electromagnetic pulse weapons we placed in their vicinity. Weeks ago, the High Commissioner's face showed shock for the first time. He touched his own communication device frantically. After a moment, his expression confirmed Hayes's words. This is an act of war, Zelthorin hissed. No, Hayes replied firmly. This is a response to your act of war against our colony, your attempted assassination of our scientist, and your centuries of oppression against other Deathworld species. As if on cue, 3 new representatives entered the hall, a Crowl, a Vexar, and a Draconid. They walked forward to stand beside Hayes. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Zelthorin. The meaning, said the Crowl representative, Grax, his deep voice rumbling through the hall, is that the Deathworlders have formed a coalition. Throughout the Conclave and across Viridian space, coordinated actions were underway. Crowl workers seized control of resource processing centers. Vexar, technicians disabled the communication networks that had kept the Deathworld species isolated from each other. Draconids took control of the shipyards on their homeworld, using human-supplied weapons and the exoskeleton technology that enhanced their natural strength. On the main screen behind Hayes, reports of these actions appeared in real time. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as the carefully constructed Viridian control system unraveled in a matter of minutes. For centuries, Hayes addressed the hall, the Viridian Alliance has exploited those they considered less advanced or more vulnerable. Today that ends. He turned to face Zelthorin directly. You mistook our patience for weakness, our restraint for inability. For a decade, we extended our hand in peace while you plotted to exploit us. Today the Deathworlders cease playing nice. The High Commissioner's security forces moved to surround him protectively, weapons drawn. But they froze as Captain Carter activated a device that revealed dozens of small drones positioned throughout the hall, each equipped with weapons aimed at the Viridian officials. Those are the same simple defensive drones you saw us use at the colony, Allison explained with a cold smile. Though these have been somewhat upgraded, Hayes addressed the wider assembly again. We do not wish conflict with the galactic community. Our quarrel is with the corruption and exploitation practiced by the current leadership. We propose a new governing structure, one based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. As the implications of what had happened spread through the hall, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted. The day the Deathworlders ceased playing nice would be remembered for generations to come. The day Deathworlders ceased playing nice, a legend. Every species remembers 1 year had passed since the day that became known throughout the galaxy as Deathworld Declaration Day. The Conclave Station, once the center of Viridian power, now housed the headquarters of the newly formed sentient species Accord. Its halls, previously dominated by Viridian blue, now displayed the colors and symbols of dozens of worlds working together as equals. Admiral Allison Carter, promoted after the events of that historic day, stood at the viewport in her office overlooking the main docking area. Ships of various designs arrived and departed, representing trade and cooperation rather than domination and control. A soft chime announced a visitor. The door slid open to reveal Dr. Eric Mason, now the Xenobiological Science Director for the Accord. The delegates are assembled in the Grand Hall, he informed her. It's almost time. Allison nodded, smoothing the front of her formal uniform. 5 years. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, sometimes like a lifetime ago. A lot has changed, Eric agreed. They walked together through corridors that had been redesigned to accommodate all species comfortably. Where once the environment had been optimized only for Viridian comfort, now the temperature, lighting, and gravity varied in different sections to welcome diverse biological needs. How many species are represented today? Allison asked. Over 300, Eric replied. Some are attending a galactic assembly for the first time. The Viridians never allowed them representation before. They entered the Grand Hall, transformed from its former imperial design to a circular chamber where no position held prominence over others. Admiral Hayes, now serving as Earth's representative to the Accord's governing council, was speaking. With Grax and other coalition leaders, Hayes spotted them and waved them over. Admiral Carter, Dr. Mason, perfect timing. We're about to begin the ceremony. Around them, representatives from hundreds of worlds mingled freely. Some were species Allison had never seen before, evidence of the Accord's continuing discovery, of worlds the Viridians had hidden or ignored. The current chairperson of the council, a draconid named Zirak, called the assembly to order. His scaled features had once been considered frightening by many species. Now he was respected as a fair and thoughtful leader. 5 years ago today, Zirak began, his deep voice carrying through the hall. 4 species from worlds classified as death worlds changed the course of galactic history. Today we gather to commemorate that change by signing the Comprehensive Rights of Sentient Species Treaty. On a central platform, a document appeared as a holographic display, visible to all. It outlined principles of sovereignty, fair trade, mutual defense, and respect for biological and cultural diversity. This treaty formalizes what we have been building since the fall of the Viridian Alliance, Zirak continued. A galactic community based not on domination, but on cooperation, not on fear, but on respect. Representatives from each world would sign the treaty throughout the day. The first to approach were the leaders of the Deathworld Coalition, Human, Crowl, Vexar, and Draconid, who had sparked the revolution. As Allison watched the ceremony unfold, Maya Rodriguez joined her, now serving as Earth's cultural ambassador to the Accord. Quite different from our first visit here, Maya observed. Allison smiled. I remember how nervous we were, trying to appear harmless while gathering intelligence. The Viridians never understood what they were dealing with, Maya said. They looked at species from harsh worlds and saw only physical adaptations, strength, endurance, resistance to extreme conditions. They never grasped the mental and social adaptations, the ability to cooperate, to form alliances, to plan long-term, Allison agreed. The patience to wait for the right moment. Across the hall, former High Commissioner Zell Thorin sat with a small Viridian delegation. After the revolution, the Viridian leadership had faced trials for crimes against sentient rights. Some had been imprisoned, but most, including Zell Thorin, had received lighter sentences focused on restitution and reform. The Deathworld Coalition had been firm but fair in victory, avoiding the cycle of oppression they had fought against. The Viridians now held a much reduced position in galactic politics, but they remained part of the community. Their technological expertise was still valued, though now it was shared rather than hoarded. Later, at a reception celebrating the treaty signing, Allison found herself standing with Admiral Hayes near a wall displaying images from worlds across the galaxy. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you made first contact with the Vexar 10 years ago? She asked him. Hayes looked thoughtful. I hoped for something better than what the Viridians offered, but this exceeds those hopes. The Deathworld Coalition was formed for defense, but it's become so much more. The coalition ships are performing well, Allison noted. The mixed species crews had proven remarkably effective, each bringing their natural strengths and perspectives, because they respect each other's differences instead of fearing them, Hayes replied. That's what the Viridians never understood. Across the room, Dr. Mason was engaged in animated conversation with scientists from a dozen worlds. They gathered around displays showing joint research projects, knowledge freely shared rather than controlled. Dr. Mason seems to be enjoying his new position, Hayes observed. He says we've learned more about xenobiology in 5 years of cooperation than the Viridians discovered in centuries of control, Allison said. Turns out, when you let species study what interests them, rather than what serves your purposes, they're quite innovative. The celebration continued into the evening. As it wound down, Allison found herself in a quiet corner with Grax looking out at the stars. My great-grandparents never imagined this, the massive Krull said softly. They were born in mines, lived in mines, died in mines. For generations, we believed that was our place in the universe. And now? Allison asked. Now my daughter commands a coalition vessel, Grax replied with pride. She visits worlds the Viridians never let us know existed. Their conversation was interrupted by a young Viridian who approached nervously, clutching a data pad. Excuse me, Admiral Carter. I'm a student at the new Galactic Academy. Could I ask you a question for my history project? Of course, Allison replied. Why do you think the Deathworlders were underestimated for so long? The student asked. The historical records show the Viridian leadership had multiple warnings about Earth's potential. Allison considered the question. I think people often mistake politeness for weakness and patience for acceptance. The Viridians saw our willingness to talk, to negotiate, to compromise, and assumed we lacked the will or capacity to fight. Oh, dangerous mistake, Grax rumbled. Yes, Allison agreed. Those who evolve on harsh worlds don't survive by being nice. They survive by being smart enough to know when to fight and when to wait. The young Viridian nodded thoughtfully, recording her words. Thank you, Admiral. That helps with my project on diplomatic misunderstandings and their consequences. After the student left, Grax looked amused. That phrase has become quite popular, you know. Beware the fury of the patient Deathworlder. It's used in diplomatic training now. Allison smiled. A good lesson for everyone, I think. Appearances can be deceiving, and true strength often lies in restraint, until restraint is no longer the wisest course. As they looked out at the stars, ships of the Coalition fleet passed by the viewport, carrying representatives back to their homeworlds. Each ship bore the same insignia, a simple depiction of 4 different hands joined together, a symbol of the day. Deathworlders ceased playing nice and started building something better.